I got a Daisy feeling. I got a Daisy feeling. Yeah.
Mummy.
What are you making?
पॉइंट नंबर 9 था ना, पति को रिझाओ तो ये ठीक है ना?
ताई जी को रहने देते हैं।
क्यों? छोटा कर जो कुछ भी चाहते हैं मम्मी मैं सब कर रही हूँ, लेकिन उसका कोई फायदा नहीं है। सिक्का आप ही का खोटा है।
Oh, she's putting it back on him.
क्या हुआ? सुमी, मम्मी, सुमी। बताया मम्मी ने क्या बोला तुमने उन्हें हमारे बारे में?
तो तुमने भी तो बोला था कि मैं मां नहीं बन सकती।
Fair.
ऐसे बच्चे बनाने की तरह कभी वो तो पापा ये सब में थे, घर कमाते थे, वरना 2-3 भाई बहन होते हैं हमारे। रिमझिम की लैब में लोगों का स्पर्म काउंट सूख जाता है क्या?
Oh my god.
तो मां बेटे दोनों।
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking. They're both just like a little bit slow. It's like he's so concerned about keeping up appearances. Even if it's something that like could potentially help him out, you know, then they could just adopt.
हमने बात कर ली और सब मान भी गए।
क्या मान गए?
A divorce?
छोटा नहीं। अच्छा दिल छोटा। बात करें? हाँ। छोटे तुम्हें सच में चाहिए क्या बच्चा?
तो हमेशा से।
This kid is gonna have what, 4 parents, or at least 3.
It's gonna have so much love. Oh.
तू जूनियर ठाकुर।
ठाकुर क्यों भाई? सिंह क्यों नहीं?
Just have double dates.
फिर तो नारायण भी रख सकते हैं।
Oh.
मैं तो सिर्फ सीनियर ठाकुर हूँ। हम ना बहुत स्ट्रिक्ट बाप बनेंगे।
Oh my.
Oh, something's gonna.
Yeah, what's happening? What's going on? Oh. She just walked in on some.
Yep. All right. Here we go.
Mommy, what are you gonna do? Please lead with love.
हाँ.
सुमी, वो हमारे बारे में कुछ मत बोल।
That's the first thing he's gonna say?
Oh my god. I was really hoping that he was gonna step up and like.
Yeah, that's the expected thing, isn't
Yeah.
जिंदगी भर अपने माँ बाप को धोखा देती रही है। तुम मर क्यों नहीं गई?
it? Whoa. Golly.
Oh wow. That is really mean to say.
दुकान जा रहा हूँ मैं।
Dude.
कि आप हर बार की तरह गले लगाकर मुझे कहोगे कि सुम्मी कुछ हो जाए, दुनिया इधर की उधर हो जाए, तेरा पापा तेरे साथ खड़ा है। कुछ तो कहो ना पापा।
Come on, Dad.
मेरे घर ही क्यों?
Damn.
यार तुम तो एक्सपीरियंस धारी हो, मानक भी नहीं पड़ी, संबंध बनाने वक्त भी नहीं।
घिन आती थी क्यों? और आप तो डॉक्टर हो ना जिया जी, आपको तो पता होना चाहिए ना बीमारी नहीं है ये कोई।
Yeah.
ऊपर वाले ने बनाया, ऐसा क्या करें? इंसान है, कोई जानवर नहीं है समलैंगिक, कोई ठगा वागा नहीं है उसने हमें। अकेला ही फील किया हमने अपने आप को, अपना सच बांट ही नहीं पाए किसी के साथ हम, क्योंकि गे होमो समलैंगिक जो बुलाना आपको ये हम।
Okay. Oh, come on, Mom.
को बता दिया।
Oh, are you gonna join in? Wow. So what?
पूछती रहती है सुमी कहाँ है, सुमी कहाँ है.
अच्छा, तुमने क्या बोला?
सच बोल दिया. बच्चे रहती भाग गए.
मंडे 2 बजे डाइवोर्स काउंसलर के साथ अपॉइंटमेंट है.
Oh, the adoption.
अडॉप्शन की एप्लीकेशन अप्रूव हो गई है.
How's that gonna work?
थोड़ा बाद में मुंह काला कर लेती. बच्चा तो होता.
What are we gonna do?
हमने और सुमी ने डिसाइड किया कि हम डाइवोर्स नहीं ले रहे हैं.
क्योंकि हम दोनों बच्चा चाहते हैं, हम बच्चा अडॉप्ट कर रहे हैं. सिंगल लड़कियां कर सकती है बच्चा अडॉप्ट, लेकिन मैं लेस्बियन हूं तो लीगली मेरे पास ये हक नहीं.
इसलिए गोद ले रहे हैं. किस किस को समझाते फिरेंगे ना कि हम नॉर्मली हैं.
अब आपके ऊपर है कि आप सब हमारी इस शादी का हिस्सा बनना चाहते हैं कि नहीं.
हमारी शादी पहले भी कॉम्प्रोमाइज थी और अब भी कॉम्प्रोमाइज है.
किंग किंग हो सकता है, किंग क्वीन हो सकता है, क्वीन क्वीन नहीं हो सकता. दोनों वो लड़कियां हैं, मैं लड़कों के बारे में बात कर रहा था.
I thought there was going to be a moment where they were like, no, come and sit here. You belong with us.
No, it's not realistic.
I guess not, no.
Oh, I guess here's your moment that you're asking for, the Hollywood moment.
माँ को होना जरूरी होता है पूजा में. जा.
Aww.
टाइलर साहब, वो बैठ जाओ साथ में. हम बाप बनने के लिए नहीं कह रहे, साथ में बैठने के लिए कह रहे.
What? I thought he was gonna come sit too.
He's covering the lens.
I know, he's covering the lens. Good job. Yeah. Oh, can I have some tissues back? That was really lovely.
You know what's super bizarre?
What?
That's not an experience I understand.
Yeah.
But it still hits me pretty hard. Don't know
Yeah.
why. It's the weirdest thing because it's like, it's so foreign to me, obviously. Like, I don't have anything to draw upon in terms of experience to share with my family or friends of like having a secret I just needed to share. But for some reason, I don't know if it's like a primal thing or just a innately human thing, but that moment of like sharing this personal thing that you've been keeping secret locked up inside you for so long, it just like hits me in this very bizarre way that I cannot begin to explain.
Well, I think it's because on some level, we can all kind of understand maybe this fear of rejection, of revealing our true nature, our true selves to our loved ones,
Yeah.
and then having them turn around and say, I don't love you anymore.
Yeah.
That's the thing that we kind of latch onto. Like, while we may not relate to them coming out in that way, but I think we can all kind of put ourselves in that experience or put ourselves in those shoes and be like, what would happen if I suddenly today were to be like, hi, this is who I am, and then everyone who I loved turned around and was like, actually, I reject you.
Do you know that moment when they were on the bridge during the Pride Parade, there was like signs of the mom
Yeah.
holding this, I'm
Yeah.
a proud mom, blah, blah. Like, that got me. I was just like, breathe through this moment.
No, it was all really nicely done. And I think for me, the message that I appreciate the most coming out of this film is like, yes, all types of relationships are valid. Love will prevail. And I think what I really enjoyed was just the fact that they were able to have a family. And this is what their family looks like. It's a dad and two moms who will provide a lot of love and care for this child.
Definitely unorthodox. I know someone who came from that kind of family, and she had more love than she knew what to do with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like she had the love of 4 parents essentially, because she was a product of like a lesbian couple that had one of them had what do you call it, in vitro, and from a sperm donor.
Yeah.
And then those parents separated and had other partners.
Right.
And so in total, this woman I know had 4 moms growing up, and it's like she had such an abundance of love, and I'm like, that is super cool that she had so much affection and guidance to draw upon.
Yeah.
That most kids just don't get. There's a lot of kids who struggle to get the love and affection of like 1 or 2 parents, but to have 4 is wild to me. I think it's totally viable and totally doable. It's unfortunate that the world is not more accepting of that. It's a slow progress. We're slowly getting there. What's interesting to me though is like at the end of this, seeing the Pride Parade and all that stuff, if this was an American movie, I wouldn't be able to accept this the same way. Over here, it's just so commonplace now.
Sure.
That like you don't even think about it. It's not like a thing anymore. Like I don't think about it. I see gay guys and lesbians or whatever, and it's just like whatever.
Well, yeah, because we've come a long way towards acceptance and also legalization. You got to understand, like, I mean, and probably the reason why it hits you so differently is because of like all of the different layers of how difficult it is to express yourself in that way in India.
Like, I've encountered a number of people in India. It's usually women that I'm thinking of that I've heard these stories from, but like one in particular that I'm thinking of, she's married now with a kid, and the woman that she was seeing, she doesn't get to talk to anymore because like she's got a kid now and etc. But like they were essentially partners secretly, not telling anyone, and it's like it's because it would be taboo or rejected, etc. And there's a lot of women kind of come across who have to keep that part of themselves secret,
right? Which
is just kind of sad. Like they can't just express themselves and feel comfortable to express themselves because of shame and
Yeah, well, I think it eats you away inside a little bit to not be able to honor all parts of yourself, right? And so like over time, as you're hiding that part of yourself or compartmentalizing your lives because you're living a dual life, at some point it becomes too much.
The acting in this was great. I thought it was a very interesting premise, a very interesting story, and it's not the kind of story that we would get over here. This would belong in
indie film.
That's what I was about to say, is like in the indie circuit you might get something like this, but even then, for me, for some reason, it tends to feel disingenuous. I don't know why. Like it feels like it's kind of virtue signaling or spoon feeding me this idea that I'm supposed to like be on board with, but it doesn't feel real to me for some reason. And maybe it's because it doesn't feel representative of anything I encounter in real life because I have friends and whatever, right?
Yeah.
But for some odd reason, when it's a foreign film for me, and knowing what I know through hearing people's stories, like feels very earnest, and I like that.
And they did a really great job of creating characters that we instantly, support. Like the whole time I was feeling just wrapped up in this story and just so anxious for them and like what would they do next? Are they going to get discovered and stuff like that? Meanwhile, I'm thinking if this was happening to some friends of mine, I'd be like, why don't you just, just be yourselves and whatever. But in this situation, I was fully on board with them and they need to stay safe.
So one of the things that came up while we were watching the film in the first hour of the movie is the gaze through which the story's being told, right? And so like there's the male gaze, the female gaze, etc. For me, it did feel like we were watching a lesbian story through a male gaze.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you convey that through the female gaze and it makes sense, because like the book Dune is like a lot, from what I understand about it, a lot of it is taking place inside the mind. And it's like, how do you translate that to the silver screen and it makes sense? You have to find a way to get the audience to understand what's happening, right? And so things have to be kind of curtailed and adjusted to that so that like the dumbest person in the audience can understand what's happening. I get it from that perspective. Like they see each other and there's like an instant attraction of like the way it might happen between a man and a woman.
It's just in the filmmaking, right? There's a certain romanticization to it, especially in that first meeting between them. I think that's where I really felt the male gaze a little bit more, because it was kind of sexualizing it in a way that we often see between in hetero heterosexual like representations of relationships on screen. But then later on, I thought it was just really sweet, you know, because there was that first meeting did kind of feel a lot more like sexual and like it isn't something that I'm super well versed on, but I've watched, you know, some video essays discussing this and the difference between like when you watch a lesbian scene filmed by a male director versus a lesbian scene filmed by a female director. There's a little bit more focus in the male one on like the female form and like and making it sexy, whereas like oftentimes when it's a female director, it's just like a lot more straightforward.
How do you mean?
There was this one video essay I watched where they were comparing, I think it was the Park Chan-wook film The Handmaid, which I haven't seen, but they showed a scene from it where like these two women were kissing in the scene and they were kneeling down and there was a mirror or something, and it was like really focused on like the way their bodies looked and the way like it arched, and it was like a very visual, like you were saying. Women shooting the scene, it's just a lot more, you know, like straightforward. You're not trying to like hide the roles in a woman's body because like that's just what her body looks like.
Well, to be fair,
I mean?
even in heterosexual scenes, you're going to get stuff like that. I mean, the way the guy has to pose, the way the female has to pose, it's all, you know, aimed at the camera. So
right,
but I get what you're saying. I've had a lot of lesbian friends. There just seems to be like, I don't know, I'm sure there are women who encounter women and it's just like, I just saw her and I knew. Yeah. You know, I'm sure that happens.
Like it's super saucy and sexy and, you know, charged.
But I feel like women who fall in love with women, there's a different route that's being taken that as a guy, I can't understand.
And I suppose shooting in a way which was more like romanticizing it or making it look hot makes it accessible.
The story as a whole was cool because like you really got to understand all the components of their family and like how they all had an effect and the dynamics therein. You easily understood the pressure that these two people were feeling because of the ancillary characters involved. I thought that was solid. I just think that the movie was long.
A little bit,
you know, and I'm saying this full well, you know, understanding I'm watching an Indian film, and Indian films tend to be on the longer side. What was this clocking in at 2 hours or something? 2.5,
like I think.
Okay, yeah.
I think it could have been 2.
I think they could have shaved off 30 minutes easily. Yeah. Like I felt like we were retreading ground a little bit sometimes, or we were kind of taking these weird detours that weren't wholly necessary. I think that the end result is still a moving piece.
Yeah, like it's really strong. The story's really strong. The acting was really strong. I felt like everyone felt like real people. They didn't really feel like caricatures. Even his mom, who from the beginning I noticed her doing a lot of this like quirky acting, but it just felt like this was just her character. She was this kind of like spaced out lady who didn't really understand a lot of stuff, but like really meant well and was quite sweet.
The way things were handled with her parents, when her parents found out, I thought that like we got a juxtaposition of two different responses, so to speak, between the moms. Right? Because one mom's like, I wish you died. And the other mom was embracing him with a hug. And I think that really shows us like the two options you have as a parent when your kid comes out to you. One is just disgrace, dishonor, leave, you know, and the other is embracing them. And that really touched me when Rajkummar Rao's mother just hugged him. It's like, I think that like speaks to all of us on some level of just like the love that we need from our parents, especially when we're desperate, dire, like feeling like we're flailing about in the water. Yeah. And we just need a lifeboat. No, not a lifeboat. What do you call it? A lifesaver. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A donut. Just to get back to shore. Like, and it's like that hug is everything.
Even in the same way, Bhumi Pednekar's character, like, all she wanted from her dad was a simple, girl, I have your back. I've always had your back, and I always will, and I love and support you 100%. But he couldn't bring himself to say that. The good thing is that it shows us, 1 year later, how so much can change and how people can come around and remember that this thing that you disclosed about like, oh, my sexual preference, like I prefer the same sex. It doesn't change like all of those other things that they knew and loved about you.
Yeah. I think that was very realistic, the dad's response. A little bit too Hollywood. I know it's not a Hollywood film, but like this, I'm just using that term colloquially, right? So it would have been too Hollywood if he just was like, oh yeah, totally on board and hugged her right away. Like the fact that he had trouble with it initially, I think was actually a good move in terms of the writing.
It's more realistic for sure.
Yeah, it was more realistic. And I think that for some odd reason, men being interested in men is more quickly accepted in Asia than women being interested in women.
Yeah,
I'm not
something
sure
weird
why.
about that.
That's so bizarre to me that it's not just equal. But then again, like, when is it ever equal between men and women? So I suppose, like, you know, it's the same kind of fight, even with the LGBT community, you know? This is a weird direction to go to, but like with Thopard, like, that's kind of the response I was looking for in that movie, where the dad wasn't accepting right away. Like, there was a struggle, a little bit of a hurdle before, like, being on board and realizing, okay, this is the way, this is the path to take. And I'm glad that they went that direction, where it took him time to get there, to the point where, like, he was no longer ashamed and was like, no, you should sit there with my daughter because you're the mother too. Like, that's a big move. That's an arc.
That is an arc.
And so I thought that was really cool, that when it faded out towards the end of the film, I'm like, that's the real ending.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because in real life, that's where it's gonna stop, and you have to do code switching all the time in order to get by. And hopefully your nuclear family is gonna code switch with you, etc. But like, then they added on that extra thing at the end that is more of like the Hollywood thing.
Which I think is important, because I understand that while it might be the more like out there fantastical ending, it shows us and it shows this audience that is an option, that you can step up and
eventually.
that you can
Eventually.
Yeah.
I don't know if India's ready for that.
No, but I think that's why it's important to have movies like this, because while India may not be ready right now, movies like this can plant the seed and kind of like start making people feel a little bit more comfortable, even if it's like 10 years, 15 years out from this actually happening.
Yeah. I mean, even in my family, there's a little bit of weirdness around straight up calling out something like that.
Right.
Because I have relatives who are gay. One might even be lesbian. But no one says anything. And it's not because everyone's just accepting. It's because it's just like, we just don't talk about it.
We just don't talk about it.
You know what I mean? It's like Bruno. It's just like, we just don't talk about it. Just don't talk about it.
If we don't bring it up, it's not an issue.
Which is like bizarre to me. You know, this is their family. It's so weird to me. But hey, you know, that's just Asians for you, I guess. So yeah, overall, I thought that this was nicely done, and I'm glad I got to experience this film.
Yeah, and like just the acting, especially between Rajkummar Rao and Bhumi Pednekar, just how they handled it, the nuance, the looks, and just all of the internalization that was happening, and that they were allowing us to share with them all of these amazing feelings that they had, all these emotions. I was like, yeah.
And on the diversity quota, it was nice to see some Northeastern in there.
Being given like a really good role as well.
She was good.
She was great.
Yeah. So anyway, I enjoyed this. Hopefully you did too. Thanks for hanging out. And if you are someone who identifies with the LGBT community, LGBTQ+, etc., and you want to share anything in the comments below, would be happy to hear your experiences. Thanks so much for hanging out. I'm Jabby Kawai. This is
Achara Cook.
Peace out.